A man of faith and courage will be laid to rest tomorrow in Fort Mill. Paul Johnson is another victim of the 9/11 terror attacks almost 17 years later.
Paul was a tremendous individual, a very courageous individual, and just one tough guy.
The former NYPD officer and volunteer firefighter died on Sunday of an illness that has impacted thousands of first responders who were at Ground Zero.
Yes, he breathed in toxic air day after day while out searching for survivors. Eyewitness News reporter Greg Suskin live for us tonight in Fort Mill. And Greg, I understand you met some of the people who came today to say goodbye.
Thank you, guys.
I sure did, and some of his friends told me that they were smiling when they said that New York had come to South Carolina today. Now, Paul Johnson retired here to Fort Mill, but he started getting sick because of that heroic work he did in the rubble of the World Trade Center. Those who knew him say he was always joyful right to the end. They brought their hats, badges, full uniforms. Firefighters and police officers flying in from New York City for a beloved friend.
They talk about a thin blue line. Paul's was really thick. If he knew you, you were his friend.
Paul was a tremendous individual, a very courageous individual.
It doesn't matter that it was almost 17 years ago. Being there among the smoke, the dust, and the chaos, these are lasting images of hell for Johnson's partner at NYPD, Steve Hayden.
Your mind is screaming to you to turn around and go the other way. But you press forward because that's your job and that's your duty.
Johnson was also in the middle of it, 16 hours a day for months in what first responders called the pile. He blew out both knees in the rubble.
He was there on top of the pile of 9/11, looking for people, looking for survivors, and that's what he was all about.
On Sunday, at 60 years old, Johnson died of pulmonary fibrosis, a lung disease that's afflicted thousands who breathed in all that toxic air at Ground Zero.
A lot of guys that were on the pile are, years later coming down with different types of cancers and different kinds of illnesses.
Those who called Johnson a brother watched him slowly die 8 gut-wrenching years after his diagnosis. He went fighting his illness, but never doubted what he did for his city and his country.
He said to me, I would have done it again in a heartbeat. I have no regrets for what I've done. And that was the kind of guy Paul was.
His law enforcement and firefighting family honor that type of guy as a hero. His son Frank is overwhelmed.
It's an awesome feeling to see all the support.
And so many people expected to come here and pay their respects. The funeral home is offering 3 different visitation times. Johnson will be buried in Fort Mill tomorrow as his wife, his children, and his grandchildren are surrounded by that much bigger family. We're live in Fort Mill. Greg Suskin, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Greg, thank you. Paul Johnson was one of tens of thousands of first responders who were left with debilitating diseases after the attacks. The CDC's World Trade Center Health Program tracks the cases and tries to provide treatment. Nearly 84,000 people are currently enrolled. Over the years, the number of cancers has climbed. In the beginning of 2015, there were 3,200 cancers in the registry. By the end of 2016, that number had almost doubled to 8,100.